When I first started checking out the Arturia Effects Collection 2 plugins, I was immediately inspired to write a song and record it just so I could mix it using only the Arturia Effects Collection 2 plugins. So here's what that mix sounds like before I use the plugins.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside, your hand in mine as the moon changed sky.
And now here's what the mix sounds like after using the Arturia Effects Collection 2.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside, your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. Close found the way to the trees nearby down wide.
So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the mix that I did in Cakewalk so you can see where I use the plugins and how I use them. And even if you aren't interested in picking up this plugin bundle, then you might want to stick around just to see the workflow in Cakewalk and maybe check out the mix. I had a lot of fun with this song. But first, I'm Zane. Welcome to Audio Tech TV, where it's my goal to help you conquer the tech so you can unleash your creative beast. And I've included a link down in the description to the Arturia Effects Collection 2 on Plugin Boutique, as Plugin Boutique were the ones who gave me access to this plugin bundle. So it's not a sponsored video, but they did give me the access to the plugin so I could share this with you. Now let's jump into the mix. All right, so here is the project that I've got going on in Cakewalk. The song is called Song of the Creepers. You might have heard it from some of my other videos if you're a subscriber and have paid attention to some of the more recent videos. And you can see that the working title was By the Lake, but this is Song of the Creepers. And what I want to do with this mix is to get a nice analog sounding, like sort of classic rock sound out of it using only the Arturia Effects Collection 2. So let's see how I did that. And I think I did do that. So I'm just going to go through track by track, and we'll start at the top here. We have our Fender Acoustic and Jumbo Acoustic. So it's our acoustic guitars, and you can see on these tracks here, there's no effects, but I have them sent to an acoustic bus, which is right over here. And this is one of the things I really like about Cakewalk. It separates the sides. You have your tracks over here, buses here, makes it easy to work with. So you can see I have 4 effects on here. The pre-73 or pre-1973, which is a Neve 1073 clone. And I'm mainly using it for the EQ section here. I really like the Neve style EQ, and that's what I've got going on. I have the saturation about halfway on the mic preamp part. It's not too big of a deal there. It's mainly just for the EQ. And then I have the Comp FET 76, which is an 1176 style compressor, another compressor that I really like. So I have that, and it's only compressing just a little bit. I'll show you right now what the gain reduction is like. So I'm just going to solo this, hit play. Not a lot of gain reduction. I just kind of want that FET style compressor sound onto the track. I'll show you what it sounds like off. Just makes it sound a little more full. Then we have the Rev Plate 140, which is a really nice reverb. I've used this quite a bit in this project, as you'll see. And I have the blend to mostly dry. And again, let's listen to on and off with the reverb so you can hear what that sounds like. Just gives it a little more space, makes it a little more wider in the mix. And then we have the EQ Sitrol 295, which is a really nice stereo EQ. And it takes a little bit to get used to this, but once you do get used to it, it's a really nice EQ that you're going to be using quite a bit. I know I'm going to be using this quite a bit in future projects as well. I really like this. And one tip is to click on this visualizer button here, and then you get this visual. So this is what it looks like when you play. So you can see what's going on in your mix with that visualizer. Without it, you're kind of going in blind with what this EQ is actually controlling, which is all right. That's how I started out. Then I found this a little later on, and it made it a lot nicer to work with. So use that visualizer if you get this plugin. And again, we'll listen to it on and off. Big difference there. Very big difference. I really like that on there. And I have this bus sent to my main Reverb Bus. Now, I have a lot of tracks sent to this Reverb Bus, and it just kind of makes everything sound like it's maybe in the same room or the same space. Kind of just blends things together and also widens everything a little bit more in the mix. So that's it for acoustic guitars. Let's move on to the next track, which is just this distorted guitar. It's actually not that big of a deal in the entire song, but it's there to sort of thicken up the choruses. On this track, you can see I used Cakewalk's built-in EQ just for a little bit of surgical stuff, as there's not a surgical EQ in the bundle. So I've rolled off some of the lows and I've increased some of the highs. And then I used the pre-1973 again for some of the EQ, and I've increased the saturation on the mic preamp side to get a lot more saturation into this distorted guitar because it just didn't have as much as I wanted. So let's listen to this. You can hear that really thickens up that guitar, and it's a very simple plugin to work with. So we'll move on to the next track now, which is the DI bass. And I actually don't have the DI bass that I recorded. I have the level set to 0, so you're not hearing what I actually recorded. I have it sent to 2 other tracks, auxiliary tracks, bass lows and bass character. On bass lows, which I'll solo right now, I don't have any effects except for the built-in EQ, and it's just EQing, so I have only the lows, and this is what that sounds like. Just the lows. And then right beside it, I have the bass character, and on there I have that pre-73 again. I really like this plugin, using some of the EQ and some of the saturation from the mic preamp. And we'll listen to what the bass character sounds like. Just adds character as I want for that track. And you can also hear I have a bad ground on that bass that I got to fix. But when we put them both together, this is what it sounds like. Just gives it that character that I kind of want. I kind of like that old school kind of Motown bass character, which was kind of what I was going for. Maybe a little more tinny than the Motown sound. And I have that sent over to a bass bus. So let's bring that up. Here's the bass bus. On there again, I have another pre-73. Very little saturation from the mic preamp, just using the EQ really on there. Again, I love the Neve style EQ. And then I have the EQ Sitrol. And we'll listen to what it sounds like with these off. First, I gotta solo this. Just makes it a little more bright and a little nicer sounding overall. So next up in the mix, what do we got going on here? We have the drums, and you can see in the track list, I have the drums in a folder. So I'm using MT Power Drums, which is a free drum plugin that you can grab if you're not aware of it. And I don't actually have the volume on the actual MT Power Drums turned up. I'm using this in multi-output mode, so the drums are set to go to individual tracks for kick, snare, toms, and the rest of the drums. So on the kick and snare, I do have some stuff going on. So let's just listen to the kick, see what I've got going on here. You can see I have some surgical EQ happening with the Cakewalk EQ. And then I have the Comp VCA 65, which is kind of like a DBX 160A. And let's just listen to that. Just adds a little more oomph to the kick. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And that's all I wanted right there. It was just a little oomph. And then we've got the snare over here. So we'll solo that. And this again has the pre-73 using the EQ over here. A little bit of saturation on the snare. I like that. Then we have the Comp FET 76. And again, let's see how much gain reduction I'm doing here. About -3 dB gain reduction, which isn't too aggressive. I just really want that FET 76 sound on there. And then I have a reverb on here, which again is the Rev Plate 140. And I'm just going to play this and I'll turn the effects on and off so you can hear. And now let's just listen to what it sounds like all together in the mix so you can kind of get an idea. It's one thing to listen to these things on their own, but let's listen to it in the mix.
It was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. Close to lay in the trees nearby, down by the lake. We kissed that night.
So you can hear how the snare really cuts through in the mix when we add those effects on there. And that's about it for the drums individually. And of course, I have all of the drums sent over to a drum bus right here. And on the drum bus, I've got the pre-73. I have this thing all over the place using the EQ and none of the saturation. Just really like that Neve EQ to get some classic sounds out of it. And then I have Bus Force. And you're going to be seeing this throughout the mix as well. And this is a pretty cool plugin. It has an EQ section, filter, compressor, saturation, and you can control the dry and the comp and saturation and all of those things. It's a very nice plugin to use. So let's just listen to what it sounds like with this on and off. So you can hear with that Bus Force off, it kind of sounds a little thin. And then once I add it, it thickened up the drum sound. And I also have these drums sent to a parallel drum bus as well. And that is over here. And again, I have the Bus Force on the parallel and I have the Comp 76 on there. And this is just to squash these drums. So here's what the drum bus sounds like. Just a very squashed sound. It's normal without it. And here it is. So let's listen to the drum parallel and the drums together, and then I'll mute the drum parallel so you can hear the difference. Again, thickens up that drum sound, makes it a little more present in the mix. Let's move on to the next part of this mix. And you can see I have the cymbals in there. Cymbals are kind of the next part, but I didn't do anything to the cymbals. I just adjusted the levels. That's it there. The next part is lead vocals. And this was the vocal track that I recorded to. I did comp recording, and then I created a comp track separately with all the takes that I liked into one track. So that's it here. So the lead vocal track is muted. This is the comp track, and we'll solo that right now. and give it a listen.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies.
You can hear some reverb on there because I have it sent to a vocal reverb and also a vocal bus here. So on the actual vocal track, though, I have the pre-73 mic preamp, and I'm using a little bit of the saturation, the EQ, of course, and then I've got bus force on there as well. And this is actually being used as a de-esser. This has a de-esser feature in there, and that's kind of what that's being used for, because there was no included de-esser in the bundle and I needed something. So that's what that's being used for. Let's listen to it on and off with the effects on and off.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. A clothes still lay in the trees near.
So you can hear a bit of a difference there. And we'll look at the vocal bus now, which has bus force on it. Again, using it for the de-esser, but I changed a bit of where the de-esser is on this one. And we have the Comp 76 on there, another compressor I use quite a bit. And I think I'm only using a little bit of gain reduction.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in.
Between -1 and 2 decibels of gain reduction through this one, but I have another compressor underneath that, and this one is compressing.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in my.
A little more on there. So altogether, between all of the compressors, I'm probably around -10 dB gain reduction on the vocal track. And also being sent to this vocal bus, I have voice doubler left and voice doubler right, and these have the identical effects on there, and just one's panned to the left, one's panned to the right. And really I'm using a couple of different effects in here. Again, I have that pre-73 that I really like, but I also have this chorus on here as well, which is a really simple chorus to use. I have it set to Dimension Mode 3. And it says this was actually a preset, what your vocals need. So I figured, why not? Let's give it a try. And then I have another pre on here. This is the pre-Trida or Tride, whatever you want to call it. And it just adds a little more character to these doubler vocals, because they're just to sort of widen the vocal, almost make it sound like there's more than one vocalist singing or more than one take of the vocals on there. So let's solo these.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. A clothes still lay in the trees nearby, down by the lake we keep.
It's a pretty interesting sound. You don't want these to overpower your lead vocal. You want them to support the lead vocal. So it's not trying to be a lead vocal. It's just trying to be sort of another backing vocal that goes along with the lead. And again, we'll listen to it all in the mix, and I will mute these so you can hear with and without. I'm going to go to a different part in the song.
Early in the summer and late one night, parked by the lake, watch the stars shoot by. Pulled at the chairs, let the moonshine flow. No one else existed that night. We're the.
You can hear it widens the vocal, and it gives that sort of effect that there is another vocal track being played there. And then also for vocals, in the chorus section, which we'll go to there, I have what I call the chorus vocals, and here I have a chorus vocal bus. So for the chorus vocals, I have chorus vocals left, chorus vocals right, and like it sounds, these are just in the chorus to make the chorus sound bigger. You can see I have the built-in EQ just rolling off the lows for this, and then it's fed to the chorus Vox bus over here, which has the pre-73, using some of that EQ and a lot of the saturation on here. So let's listen to what it sounds like with and without that saturation.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. Clothes found their way to the trees nearby.
So I just kind of like that saturated sound in behind my main vocal. And then it's going into the flanger, which gives it that cool effect, or I think it's a cool effect. And we'll listen to it on and off.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies.
I think that's a cool sound to have in the chorus area. And then, of course, I have the bus force, and this is being used for the de-esser again. All right, so we haven't looked at the vocal reverb yet, and we'll get into that right now. So on the vocal reverb bus, I have a delay on there. We'll just listen to this quickly.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. Clothes found their way to the trees.
Adds a nice delay effect, of course. Then I have the reverb right after the delay, and we'll do the same thing.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. Clothes.
And I probably could have went with one or the other, but I kind of like how it thickens things up and makes the vocal wider when you have both of those on there. And then I have this LA2A style compressor on there, just doing a little bit of gain reduction.
Lake was calm, not a wave inside your hand in.
And that's it for main vocals. Let's look at the backing vocals. I actually have 5 backing vocal tracks, and one of these is just used in one part of the song, but in the chorus, I have 4 backing vocal tracks happening all at the same time. There's no effects on the individual tracks themselves. They're all being fed to a backing vocal bus over here. And you can see I've rolled off a lot of the lows because we don't need that on our backing vocals. We don't want to add any more mud to the mix. And then I have this simple chorus Jun 6 plugin, which is a chorus effect that's based off the old Juno keyboards that had this chorus built into them. We'll just solo this here. Kind of a cool effect to widen the backing vocals a bit. And then, of course, I have that LA2A style compressor on there. We'll see how much. Just a little bit of gain reduction on there to smooth things out and to get that LA2A sound into this mix. Then there's a couple of little tracks throughout here. I have a tambourine, which I really didn't do anything to. I just rolled off some of the lows. I'll let you listen to what that sounds like on its own. Not a big deal. And that's pretty much throughout the song like that. It's panned to the right. And then I have a shaker track, which I, again, rolled off some of the lows, rolled off some of the highs. And this is what that sounds like. Pretty much the same thing throughout the song. Not too big of a deal, those tracks. But I do have a lead guitar track here, and I've used one non-Arturia plugin here. This is my cabinet sim that I use on pretty much every one of my songs. It's part of my guitar sound, I guess. So I had to use that for the sound, and the Arturia bundle didn't have a cabinet sim in there. But before the cabinet sim, I have the Pre-73 with a lot of saturation on it, and again, using some of that EQ, but I really needed to get more saturation into this guitar. So let's just solo this so you can hear it. You can hear how it really thickens the lead guitar up with that Pre-73 on there. And then I have a reverb coming in at the end. This is a spring reverb, which is different than the other reverb I've used throughout. And I think I just loaded this up and I adjusted some of the settings, basically to make the lead guitar a little more full and wide in the mix. We'll listen to it on and off. Just a little thing there. This is also being fed to the lead guitar reverb right here, which is that Reverb Plate 140 that I like so much. So let's listen to this together. So what this is doing is the lead guitar reverb. I have this track panned to the right, and I have the lead guitar itself panned to the left. So this is filling the right side up with that guitar sound, but it's 100% just the reverb from the guitar. So you're not getting the dry sound of the guitar over there. You do get a little bit of it from the track itself, but it's a kind of cool effect to make your guitar sound a little bit bigger in the mix. And now finally we have our synth track. And for this synth, I'm using actually an Arturia synth. This is the Jun 6, which is like a Juno style synthesizer. And I used one of the presets. I think I adjusted some things to come up with the sound. Let's hear what that sounds like right now. It's only on in the chorus and I think in the pre-chorus as well. Nothing too special there, but as you can see, I did a little bit of surgical EQ and I have it sent to a synth reverb, which is that plate reverb that I like so much. It's 100% wet, and it's the same sort of thing that I did with the lead guitar. I have the synth panned to the left and the synth reverb panned to the right. So let's listen to these put together. You can hear how it really fills in the right side of the song by adding that in there, but it's not overpowering on the right side. It's just that reverb sound over there, which is pretty cool. So of course, finally, we have our main reverb bus, which I have pretty much everything sent to. And this is to make it all sound like it's in the same room. And it's just that plate 140 with this EMT preset on there. And I adjusted some things a little bit. If you click on the advanced tab, you get some more options in here, which is kind of nice. But we'll listen to the mix and I'll turn it off and on so you can hear the difference.
It was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. Clothes found the way to the trees nearby, down by the lake we kissed that night.
Just kind of widens everything a little bit. And that's about it for that reverb bus, but let's look at the master now. So on here, I have the EQ Sitrol and I have Bus Force. And both of these plugins are ideal for buses, but they'll work on individual tracks as well. So I did use, it looks like, a preset, and then I adjusted some things to fit this song. And I'm going to play it back and we'll turn it on and off so you can hear the difference with the EQ on.
It was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. Clothes found the way to the trees nearby, down by the...
I like the sound of that EQ on there, and we'll go with the Bus Force now. And I found a master bus preset, but it's for EDM, so I adjusted things to kind of fit this song a little bit better. So let's listen to this on and off.
It was calm, not a wave inside your hand in mine as the moon changed skies. Clothes found the way to the trees nearby, down by the lake we kissed that night.
You can really hear how it thickens up the whole mix and gives it a little more oomph and a little bit more liveliness to the mix just by using this Bus Force, which is really cool. So that's it for the mix using the Arturia Effects Collection 2. I wanted to get that analog sound in here, and I think I really did with these plugins. They're great sounding plugins. It's a great bundle, and I'm going to continue using a lot of these in my future projects. I'm really excited to move forward with these plugins. Now, if you want to check out 30 free VST effects plugins, click the video on the screen right now, or click the one under it to see what YouTube recommends. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating, and we'll talk soon.